exciting free radio offers. By now you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the award-winning and revolutionary online learning program that's changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Designed by teachers and early childhood learning experts, ABC Mouse seamlessly aligns with what your child is already learning in school. And with over 7,000 learning activities and more than 650 lessons, it's the most comprehensive early learning site on Earth.
I've been teaching for 13 years, and I've never seen a program like ABC Mouse. It encompasses science, math, reading, social studies.
It's just endless what they can learn on ABC Mouse. I've always had to use 20 websites, and now I can just use one.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month. But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio, abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning. How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need. Indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign. And we handle the rest. Sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started. If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man aged 45, non-smoker, can get $1 million of coverage for $75 per month. Level rate for 10 years. For a man aged 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote. 800-786-9161. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-786-9161. Remember, 1-800-786-9161. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Tonight, mostly cloudy, continued chance of showers and some light rain throughout the night, low 55 to 60. Tomorrow, partly sunny, highs near 75. Tomorrow night, slight chance of light showers, low near 55. Tuesday, mostly cloudy, chance of showers and light rain, highs 65 to 70. And Wednesday, partly sunny, highs 65 to 70. And that's your Bloomberg 3-day weather forecast. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Now a check of Bloomberg Sports.
In St. Pete, the Yankees and Rays played the deciding game of the weekend series. The Yankees will begin a 4-game homestand Monday against the Blue Jays. The Mets look to take 2 of 3 from the Rockies at Citi Field. The Mets have dropped 4 of 5. NHL, the Devils down 2 will host Carolina. The Rangers and head coach Gerard Gallant part ways after 2 seasons. Gallant won 99 regular season games. They were in the final round of the Wells Fargo Championship. Wyndham Clark began the round with a 2-stroke lead. That's a Bloomberg Sports Update. I'm Joel Stern.
Welcome back. He's been called the 2024 candidate Democrats should fear, and the ideal candidate for a GOP that no longer exists. Asa Hutchinson is a former U.S. attorney, the Arkansas Republican Party chair, a 3-term member of Congress. He served as a House impeachment manager during Bill Clinton's impeachment. President George W. Bush appointed him director of the DEA and later an undersecretary in the Department of Homeland Security. He left office in January after 2 terms as governor of Arkansas. And last week, Hutchinson, who has stood out in the Republican field for his willingness to publicly take on Donald Trump, formally announced his presidential campaign.
We've learned that in times of turmoil, uncertainty, and division, America has always benefited from leaders who challenge us and give us hope. I am running for President of the United States because I know that the best of America is ahead of us.
And the former governor of Arkansas and Republican presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson joins me now. Governor Hutchinson, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you, Chuck. It's always good to be with you.
You know, I think the single most important speech any candidate for president gives is that announcement speech. I always feel like it's the speech that truly comes from the candidate, that it hasn't had a lot of consultants in it and speech writers. Over time that happens, I get that. But that first one, it's what I found from it is it feels like you were running to lead a party from 10 years ago. And you probably know what I mean by that. Do you really think you have a message for a post-Trump era in an era where Donald Trump still exists?
No, I think the message that I presented is about the future. Whenever you look at the rule of law, which I talked about, the challenge of crime in our cities, the challenge of border security, that's where we simply need to enforce the law, and that is the background that I bring to this campaign. And whenever you look at reducing the size of the federal government and controlling spending, I presented the idea, the plan to reduce state, federal civilian employment by 10%. I can do that because we reduced it by 14% in Arkansas. And so these are specific plans that I present, and it's about the future, it's about the strength of America, it's about our leadership. So no, it's not about the past, it's about the future, and I think that resonates.
Look, it does seem as if, though, that having the right positions that maybe the Republican Party supports in a poll doesn't seem to translate to votes. I look at your positions, and in theory, it makes a ton of sense to me that you should be able to unite this party around what you're selling. But as you know, they're looking for something else. Donald Trump, whatever it is, it's a fighter. He says what I think. You've heard all the different words. How do you appeal to that voter that actually likes the pugilism?
That's true, and you've got to convince the voters that you're going to fight for them. And whenever you look at my history of fighting against the establishment in Arkansas, but also in Congress and balancing the budget, this is proof of a record of somebody who does fight for them. And whenever you look at growing the economy and the challenge of the high interest rates, high inflation, economy is the number one issue that will face Americans as we go into 2024. And so you talk about these, and that you're willing to fight for them, that's what they want, but they also want somebody that can win. So it's about policy, but it's about electability, and we do not want to have a repeat of 2020 with a Trump-Biden race. We want something different that we can win, and that's the case that we make.
Why do you think right now Republican voters think Donald Trump's the best candidate?
Well, really, you look back to the true numbers, which is after the last midterm elections, and his numbers were down. He was responsible for a lot of the failure and growth that we expected and wins in a number of different states, and so his numbers were down. Since then, his numbers have gone up because he's played the victim. People believe he's been picked on because of some prosecutions. I joke in some ways that his campaign manager is Alvin Bragg of New York City. That indictment caused those numbers to go up because they don't believe they're fair. This will settle out over time, and so let's judge it understanding that we're early in the campaign. We've got a lot of room to grow.
It's funny you bring up the legal issues, the seditious conspiracy convictions of the Proud Boys. That was a tall task for justice to prove that case. They were able to prove it. You have experience dealing in the Justice Department as a former U.S. attorney. Were you surprised they were successful, and do you think this is a dire outcome for the former president?
Well, they are difficult cases to make. It's a high bar, and they were successful in it. And I think it really reflects the seriousness of the offense of January 6th in undermining our democracy and how seriously the jury considers this, that found them guilty of that. Whenever you look at the impact on the future, Donald Trump has a moral responsibility for what happened on January 6th. The question is whether there is a criminal responsibility, and that's a judgment that the Department of Justice is going to have to make. I believe that we're going to have in America to go a different direction, but it's going to be through the ballot box and not what happens in the courtroom. And so that's what I want to focus on, is persuading Americans that we need to go a different direction.
Are you committing to support the Republican nominee, even if it is Donald Trump?
I expect to be on the debate stage. We're still looking at what is required for that in terms of the pledge. But yes, I am sure that the candidates that are going to be participating in that believe they're going to be the nominee, and so we're going to support the nominee. But I want to be on that debate stage. I think it's important, and we're working very hard to get there. And let's see, we're not sure whether Donald Trump's going to be there or not. I hope that he will be. I think it's important. But let's see how that develops.
Do you think if he doesn't show up to the debates, it makes it easier for you not to commit to support the nominee?
Well, that reflects the question as to who he will support if he's not the nominee. But he'll drop in the polls, and that's why I think he'll ultimately be there. It's important for the American public to hear, particularly the Republican voters, to hear what the candidates say about the future, their ideas for it, and to engage in that debate and defend their position. So that's what the expectation is, and I think everybody has an obligation to participate in that.
A couple of tricky policy issues that are very divisive, or else we'd have resolved them by now. We had a lot more mass shootings again this week. What we saw in Texas at an outlet mall. Let me ask you this. Do all of these recent shootings took place in states that have expanded the rights of gun owners? If we want to tackle the mental health issue, how do you do it without regulating the firearm?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've had mass shootings that occurred in blue states and states that have significant restrictions on firearms. And so they happen across America. And Chuck, this is a serious issue for us. It breaks everyone's heart and causes everybody to think, what can we do to prevent this or to reduce the deaths by violence? And so, as you said, the mental health is a significant part of it that we need to invest in. And you talked earlier about there's, not any bipartisan consensus, and we did find last year a bipartisan consensus to address some issues after the Uvalde shooting in Texas, and I applaud Senator Cornyn for his leadership on that. So we just have to continue to look at what makes a difference, what fits within our constitutional framework, and right now there is the consensus on addressing the mental health crisis we have in America, particularly as it came out of the pandemic.
Let me ask you this about the current crisis of confidence of the Supreme Court. Back in the late 90s when you were in Congress, you led a bipartisan effort. There was a rebuke, an ethics investigation of then Speaker Newt Gingrich. And you led a bipartisan effort. And, hey, this is what was concluded. It was a bipartisan action. He had to pay a pretty hefty fine. But it was accepted by the public because it was bipartisan. Do we need that here with the Supreme Court? It feels like there isn't an accepting of the premise that the court has an ethical problem right now.
Well, this is an important issue, and whenever you look at the confidence of the Supreme Court, which is critical to operation of our democracy, that confidence level is somewhat down. But if you look back in history, you had during the Warren Court, they had a controversial decision, Brown versus Board of Education, and for a long time the court was under extraordinary criticism. The confidence level was diminished. That has been built back up over time. You've had a controversial decision, and history is repeating itself. You've got, in this case, the Democrats undermining the court, first of all, by wanting to pack it more than 9, which has been our historic number, and then secondly, these allegations against Justice Thomas. The court needs to be transparent, first of all. They need to be clear on what their reporting rules are. They need to review those to make sure they're very similar to the other public officials and branches of government, which has broad reporting requirements. Clearly have not been sufficient. They've changed those, but I think they need to step just simply in terms of their transparency so the American people understand what the rules are and what is required, and is similar to other public officials.
Sounds like you think Chief Justice Roberts, you think he needs to come out and publicly state what you just said?
Well, sure. I think there needs to be a clear set of rules, and there needs to be openness about it so that everybody knows what the rules are. Those are important. Every public official has to follow those. They can set those. They should set those versus the Congress of the United States because they are a separate branch of government.
Right. Governor Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas, presidential candidate, just announced this week. Appreciate you coming on, sharing your perspective, and stay safe on the trail, sir. We'll see you again.
Thank you, Chuck. Good to be with you.
Before we go to break, on Saturday, millions of people watched the coronation of King Charles III, the first British monarch to be crowned in 70 years. The ceremony raises lots of questions about the future of the royal family, with the public finding its role in modern democracy increasingly insignificant. During a 1969 tour of North America, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, the father of King Charles, appeared on Meet the Press to defend the monarchy.
Your Highness, there have been reports which say that the British monarchy gets its strength and popularity because it hasn't changed. And then I've seen some that says it gets its strength and popularity because it has changed and become more modern. What's your opinion on that?
Well, different things have changed. I think when people say that it has its strength and not changing, I think there is a sense of continuity. The fact that you have roughly the same people around all the time gives the community a sense that whatever changes there are, at least there's something that doesn't change all the time. This is great strength, because largely.
When we come back, the growing ethics allegations against Clarence Thomas and the fight of the death skin, both battles reveal the deep partisan divides that animate our current political climate. Panel is next.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have